Robert Stevens, the founder of Geek Squad, was giving a keynote speech at an event when an audience member asked him, "Robert, let me get this straight. You're in the business of teaching people how to fix things. Yet, you teach them how to fix things themselves for free? How does this make any business sense?" That is the key question that Jay Baer tries to answer in his book. The short answer is that when you help customers fix things themselves, eventually they will lack proficiency to solve a particular problem. Who do you think they will turn to then? That's right, to the person, or in this case, company, which helped them solve countless other problems in the sphere for free, and which they trust. So, apart from just creating content, which is probably obvious, how can we actually accomplish that? Let's say you've gone out in a white shirt to a restaurant and spilled some wine on it. What now? Well, in case you have the app My Stain by Clorox, you'd quickly look it up and get suggestions on how to treat that stain on the go, before you talked to any company representatives. For this reason, we must find ways to engage the audience before they contact us, because in many cases, they simply won't. Today, even products like diamonds and cars get purchased online. Although customers probably do contact companies in many of those cases, still, a lot of the research is done before that. So, the first way to be helpful is by creating self-serve information. Exercise. Name one way in which you could provide information for customers when they're at the stage of looking for a solution but still don't know the options they have. For example, a guy who wants to try audiobooks but doesn't know which platforms exist yet and researches it. The information I could serve him is creating a blog post comparing different audiobook platforms. Ready? You may write your idea down now. One customer of a fast food restaurant was wondering, when you say 100% beef, do you mean the whole cow, the organs, snout, brain, kidneys, etc.? Or just the plain beef we buy at the grocer? McDonald's Canada makes it a point to answer all of their customers' questions on their Twitter page, and this one was no exception, even though most businesses would try to avoid such a question as much as possible. Customers today have many different questions about a brand's solutions when they encounter them, and if you'll answer them, they'll know better whether they want to buy at your place instead of wondering. Having no answers to their questions may result in them choosing the alternative, which does provide an answer. Because you know what they say, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. The second way to be helpful is by radical transparency. Exercise. List 3 questions your audience might have regarding your brand and services. Even better if those are questions you were actually asked. Then, later, or now if you wish, consider answering one of them with a content piece. Or, alternatively, create an FAQ section on your website and shortly answer all those questions there. For example, for Improvementor, the audience might ask, 1. What is the difference between marketing and business books? 2. If I were just starting out with marketing, what would be the first step to do? 3. What is the best marketing book for the marketing of a blog? For your information, I've just added the answers to those specific questions to the FAQ section of improvementor.blog, if you'd like to check them out. Ready? You may list the 3 questions now. You know that situation when you enter a big store and you have no idea where each item is? Well, the Meijer Find It app may solve this problem for you. In a cooperation with the internal cartography company, Point Inside, Meijer, a Michigan-based retailer, created this app to navigate their aisles quickly and efficiently. Some conventional marketing wisdom may say that if you spend less time at the store, you'll be less likely to buy more. But, according to Todd Sherman, who was Point Inside's CMO at the time of the book's writing, the opposite is the case. When customers get the items they were planning to get quicker than they planned, then they have some spare time to look at additional items and are more likely to buy more. So, it's a win-win. The customer gets his items faster, and the retailer gets more sales. This app is an example of a circumstance-specific utility. Every time a customer enters a Meijer store, the Find It app will very likely pop to mind. In other stores, it probably won't. Our duty in this type of utility is to be helpful at and associated with a specific time or situation in our audience's lives. The third way to be helpful is real-time relevancy. Before the next exercise, you'll need to have your audience defined, at least roughly. For just such an occasion, I have prepared a PDF which helps you do just that in about 5 minutes. You may find it in the description below. Now, the exercise. What are 3 of the states your audience may be at in their customer journey? List 3 of them. Then, pick one of those states and write a possible heading for a PDF, which could be helpful at this phase. For example, for you, improvementers, it might look something like this. The first phase is where you might be consuming a lot of nonsense, like lots of video games and TV series, and not having the slightest clue about what you want to do with your life. Then, the second phase is where you start to look for a meaning, research some ideas for that, and start to read some books. Then, there is the third phase, where you already start some sort of business or initiative to work towards your goals, where you probably want to learn marketing, because you want to earn support for your cause. Now, as an example of helping on the first phase, I might create a PDF called Read This If Feeling Aimless After Gaming. Ready? You may write the 3 states, pick one, and write a possible PDF heading for it now. I think that will do for now. Let me know in the comments, email, or TikTok how did it go. The latter is the most preferred, of course. JK, just kidding. But seriously, I'd love to hear how it went, and I'm answering comments and emails. At least for now, before I get more subscribers than Mr. Beast. So, see you there. Cheers. PS. If you'd like to get more than 10 free audiobooks, then there is a PDF for that in the description too. Bye!